My son invited me for Christmas after 5 years of silence. But the moment I arrived, his wife stood in the doorway and said, "She's just here to eat like always." They humiliated me in front of 50 guests. I stood there holding cookies while no one stopped her. But 2 days later, they got a knock at the door. And this time, I wasn't alone. So before we continue, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you so much if you've already done it, and let me know in the comments which state or country you're watching from. So, now let's continue our story. The pie was still warm when I placed it on the passenger seat. I'd used extra cinnamon, just the way David liked it. The crust cracked slightly as I wrapped the foil around it, but I didn't care. It wasn't about the presentation. It was about showing up, being there, being part of their Christmas. I'd worn my best sweater, red with little pearl buttons. I hadn't worn it in years, but today felt worth it. David had called himself. "Mom, the kids would love to see you this year," he said. "We really want you here." I believed him. I wanted to believe him. The house looked beautiful when I pulled up. Twinkling lights draped across the porch, a blow-up snowman wobbling in the wind, cars lined the driveway and the curb. They had a full house. I walked up the steps slowly, gripping the pie with one hand and a bag of gifts with the other. My knees ached, but I didn't mind. Not today. The door was slightly open. I could hear laughter, music, the clink of glasses. A soft voice said, "Oh, let me grab the door." It opened wide. Karen stood there. I smiled. "Merry Christmas, sweetie." Her eyes dropped to the pie, then to the bag in my other hand. She didn't smile. "Well, look who decided to show up." She stepped aside. "Just here to eat like always." I stood there stunned. I thought I misheard her, but the room had gone quiet. Heads turned, conversation stopped. Karen walked ahead of me, her heels clicking across the hardwood. She raised her voice just enough. "Guess we've got an extra mouth at the table tonight." Then she laughed. My hands shook. I stepped inside slowly. I looked for David. He was standing near the tree with a drink in his hand. His eyes met mine. He looked away. I walked toward him, still holding the pie. I whispered, "Did you not tell her I was coming?" He didn't answer. He sipped his drink. He glanced at Karen, then at the guests, then down at the floor. I felt the heat rising in my face. My throat tightened. "David," I tried again, quieter. "You invited me. You called me." Karen appeared beside us, all smiles for the crowd. "Honestly, I don't even know why you brought food. We had it catered this year." I looked around. Everyone stared. Some tried to look away. Some didn't bother. I forced a small smile. I just wanted to bring something homemade. Thought it would be nice. Karen rolled her eyes. "Well, just don't expect anyone to eat it. We've got real food." A few people laughed. Not loud, but enough to sting. I turned to David again. "Can we talk, please?" He shrugged. "It's busy right now, Mom. Maybe later." That broke something inside me. Not the words, the way he said them, like I was just another inconvenience. I backed away slowly. Karen turned back to her friends. "Some people just can't take a hint." I stood near the coat rack, gripping the pie. No one came over. No one said hello. It felt like I was floating in a room full of people pretending I didn't exist. I saw the kids in the corner playing with toys. I almost walked over, but what would I say? I was still wearing my coat. I hadn't even unwrapped their presents yet. The sounds of the party returned around me, music, laughter, glassware clinking. I felt invisible. I found my way to the hallway, spotted the guest bathroom and stepped inside, locking the door. The pie sat heavy in my arms. My knees finally gave out. I sat on the toilet lid and just breathed. I couldn't cry. Not yet. Not here. I pulled out my phone, opened my messages. I typed, David, should I leave? I waited. His reply came 5 minutes later. Do what you want. I stared at the screen. My hand covered my mouth. All I'd ever wanted was to be welcome in my own family, to be invited, to feel seen. I stood up, set the pie down on the bathroom counter, and braced myself to leave. But when I opened the door, the pie was gone. I looked left, looked right, then I saw it in the trash can, right on top, foil still crinkled, untouched. I stood there staring. No one said a word. They didn't need to. I got the message. I stood there staring at the pie in the trash, still warm, still wrapped, still mine. I hadn't said a word to anyone yet. Not since walking in. Not since Karen decided I was a joke. Now she'd made sure the rest of them saw me that way too. I turned my back to the hallway. The noise from the party picked back up behind me. Voices, music, laughter that didn't include me. The bathroom door clicked shut behind me. I locked it. I didn't want anyone finding me. Not like this. I sat on the toilet lid, clutching my purse. The silence was louder than the party. I tried to breathe deep, slow, but my chest felt too tight. A knock would have been better than what I heard next. 2 voices. Women. Right outside the bathroom door. She seriously just walked in like it was her house, that voice. It was the woman from the kitchen, the one with the leopard scarf. Karen warned us. She always shows up with some store-bought dish and expects to be treated like royalty. They both laughed. I heard she cried at Easter too when nobody ate her green beans. I wouldn't have either. I closed my eyes. The walls might as well have been made of glass. She just can't accept that David has his own family now. A pause. Karen told me she's been trying to get him to cut her off for years. A paper towel crumpled in my hand. I hadn't even realized I'd grabbed one. I couldn't move, not even to cry. I waited for them to leave. They didn't. The conversation shifted to someone's husband's affair, then back to me. She used to call every Sunday. David finally told her to stop, said it was making Karen anxious. Good boundaries. You know boundaries. That word stuck. They finally walked off. I heard their heels clicking down the hall, fading into the party. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out with a trembling hand. One new message from David. I opened it. Do what you want. That was it. 3 words. No apology, no defense, no comfort. He knew I was in the house. He knew Karen embarrassed me. He knew I had nowhere else to go tonight. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering. I didn't reply. What would I even say? I stood up slowly, looked in the mirror. Mascara had smudged beneath my eyes. I fixed it with a tissue. My face looked older than it had this morning. I picked up my purse. 1 deep breath. 2. I unlocked the door. The hallway was quiet. The pie was still in the trash. I kept my eyes on the floor and started walking toward the exit. No one looked up. No one stopped me. No one cared. But then, as I passed the kitchen, I heard something that made me stop. Well, if she's not going to be grateful, why should we pretend? Karen's voice. She's never respected boundaries. She just walks in and expects to be celebrated. David only invited her because she guilt-tripped him again. Someone else chuckled like always. I stopped walking. There it was, proof. It wasn't a slip-up. It wasn't a misunderstanding. This had been planned. I walked to the front door without another word. I opened it. Cold air hit my face. Still, no one looked over, not even David. I stepped out and closed the door behind me. I stood on their porch alone in the dark, clutching my coat tighter around me. My hands were shaking. I should have left it there. I should have walked down the steps and gone home. But instead, I pulled out my phone again. Not to call a cab, not to call a friend. I opened Facebook. I don't know why I did it. Habit, loneliness, desperation. Right at the top of my feed was a new post, a photo. Karen holding a wine glass, arm around David. The caption read, "Perfect family Christmas, no drama this year." I stared at it. That smile on her face, it wasn't just joy, it was triumph. I scrolled down. People were already commenting. "You two are goals. So glad your holiday was peaceful. Beautiful home. Love this." My hands gripped the phone tighter. No drama. No drama because I'd stayed silent, because I left. That was the goal all along. I thought humiliation was the worst part, but I was wrong. The worst part was how easy it was for them to erase me. Like I was never invited, never wanted, never their family. I stood on the porch a second longer. Then I stepped off, one foot after the other. Each step down felt heavier than the last. I didn't know it yet, but they'd started something they wouldn't be able to stop. The door shut behind me, and for the first time in hours, I could breathe. Not deeply, not comfortably, but enough to hold myself together until I reached the car. I sat behind the wheel without turning the key. Just sat, hands in my lap, jaw tight, staring at the steering wheel like it might give me answers. There was nothing left to say. Not to David, not to Karen, not to a house full of people who looked right through me. I didn't cry on the drive home, not even when I passed the street where David learned to ride his bike, or the gas station where we used to stop for slushies after school, not when the radio played a Christmas song I used to sing to him when he was little. The tears came later. I walked into my apartment and dropped my purse by the door. My coat stayed on. The heating was off. I hadn't planned to be home this early. The living room was quiet. Too quiet. The little ceramic nativity I set out every year sat on the mantel like it was waiting for something. The Christmas tree, fake and uneven, flickered dimly in the corner. I decorated it alone. The kitchen still smelled like chicken soup. I'd made a big pot the night before, something easy to reheat after the party. Now it would be dinner. I placed the pot on the stove, turned the burner to low, and opened the fridge. The shelves were nearly empty. Leftovers, a bottle of water, the small box of gingerbread cookies I'd bought for the kids. I stared at the cookies for a long time. Then I closed the fridge and poured the soup into a bowl. I didn't bother adding crackers. I didn't light the candles I'd arranged on the table. I sat down alone. Christmas dinner for one. The silence wasn't peaceful. It pressed in from all sides. I picked at the soup and stared at the seat across from me. That's where David used to sit when he visited. I remembered one Christmas when he was maybe 10. He'd insisted on setting the table himself. He used paper napkins and drew little trees on them with green crayon. Margaret had kissed his forehead and told him it was the most beautiful table she'd ever seen. My spoon clinked against the bowl. I had raised him, fed him, sacrificed for him, and somehow I was the outsider. I stood up, left the bowl half full, and walked to the couch. I sat with my arms crossed, trying to keep warm, trying to keep steady. The TV remote sat untouched on the coffee table. I didn't turn it on. Instead, I stared at the family photo on the shelf. Me, David, and Margaret. All smiles taken before the wedding, before Karen. Back when I still felt like I had a place in my own son's life. I hadn't heard David laugh like he did at that party in years. But it wasn't for me. It was at me, or worse, without me entirely. I pulled the blanket over my lap and leaned back, trying to rest my eyes, trying not to replay everything, but it was all I could see. Karen's smirk, David's silence, the pie in the trash. I wanted to believe he was better than this, that maybe he didn't know what Karen was planning. But the way he looked at me, it wasn't surprise. It was resignation, like he'd already made peace with the idea that I didn't belong. The clock on the wall ticked louder as the night went on. 10:30, 11. I hadn't even opened their presents. I'd left them in the car. I wrapped them myself. Each tag handwritten. Emma's scarf. Daniel's puzzle set. David's book, first edition, the one he mentioned months ago. I thought he'd be touched. I imagined him holding it, saying, "You remembered?" I imagined things that would never happen. The silence stretched. I reached for my phone just to see. No missed calls, no messages, no apologies. I stared at the screen, wondering what I'd done wrong, where I'd crossed the line from mother to nuisance. Maybe it was easier to blame Karen, but deep down, I knew David let it happen. He saw me humiliated. He saw the look on my face, and he turned away. That truth cut deeper than anything Karen said. I stood, walked back to the kitchen, and washed the untouched bowl, then the spoon, then the pot. Same routine I'd done for years. I dried them, put everything back in its place. The fridge hummed quietly behind me. I placed the cookies on the top shelf, still unopened, still waiting. Then I walked to the living room, turned off the tree lights, and sat down again, arms crossed, heart heavy. I stared at the darkness around me. I had come home early, but they were the ones who were empty. I didn't sleep that night, not more than a few minutes here and there. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Karen smirk. David turning his back. The pie, the trash. The next morning, I stayed in bed longer than usual, not because I was tired, but because I didn't want to face the day. What was I supposed to do? Pretend none of it happened? Smile like everything was normal? Around 10, I finally sat up and reached for my phone. I had no new calls, no texts, no apology from David. No, "Are you okay, Mom?" Nothing. I scrolled through Facebook, not expecting anything. That's when I saw it. A red notification in my inbox. I tapped it. A message from someone named Mariah Jacobs. Her face looked familiar. Blonde hair, big earrings, always laughing too loud at David's parties. I opened it, expecting another passive dig. Instead, the message read, "I'm really sorry about what happened. You didn't deserve that. I thought you should see this." There was a video attached. My thumb hovered over the play button. I hesitated. Then I pressed it. The screen showed Karen in the kitchen. She was holding a wine glass, talking to two women. Her voice was clear. "Oh, don't worry. I told David not to formally invite her." He mumbled something about guilt and the kids. The woman next to her asked, "What if she shows up anyway?" Karen shrugged. "Let her. I'll embarrass her enough that she won't do it again. Watch." My stomach dropped. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. She laughed. "David won't stop me. He never does. He owes me for putting up with her this long." The video ended. The screen went black. I stared at it, hand trembling. Then the second message came in. "There's more. This one's just audio, another file." I opened it. Karen's voice again. "She always tries to play the victim like we're supposed to be grateful. She raised him alone." "That's what moms do. You don't get a medal for it." Then David's voice. Quiet, tired. "Just don't make it a scene, Karen." Karen laughed. "She makes it a scene just by walking in." I paused it. The silence in my apartment was crushing. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't just Karen being cruel. It was planned, discussed, agreed upon. David knew. He knew everything, and he let it happen. I sat there staring at the screen, my reflection caught in the black glass, eyes red, face drained. How many times had I defended him? How many years? Had I told myself he was just tired, just stressed, just trying to keep the peace? No, he chose this. He made his choice the moment he heard her plan and said nothing. I typed back, "Thank you for sending this. I mean that." Maria replied within seconds. "I wasn't going to, but after I saw your face that night, I couldn't pretend anymore." I put the phone down. My heart pounded in my chest. I stood up and walked to the window. Snow had started falling again, light, gentle. Everything looked quiet outside, calm. But inside me, something had cracked, and behind that crack, something new was forming. This wasn't about getting revenge, not yet. It was about getting the truth in my hands. I pulled out my laptop, opened a folder, saved the video, saved the audio, made copies. I stared at the files for a long time, like they were something dangerous, but necessary. I didn't know what I'd do next, but for the first time since Christmas Eve, I felt something that almost resembled control. They wanted to shame me into silence. They wanted to isolate me. But they forgot something. I'd survived harder things than this. Karen might have the house, the parties, the performance. But I had proof. And the quiet strength of a woman who's been hurt too many times to stay quiet any longer. I couldn't stop thinking about that video. I watched it again after lunch, then again before bed. Each time I picked up on something new. The smirk in Karen's voice, the way David said nothing, the laughter, the plan. It didn't feel like a family slip up. It felt like a setup. The next morning, I opened my closet and pulled out the small fireproof box I kept buried beneath a stack of blankets. Inside, I kept things that mattered: old paperwork, receipts, Margaret's will, David's birth, certificate, things I hadn't looked at in years. I sat on the edge of the bed and flipped through them slowly. My fingers landed on a yellow envelope, the one labeled house transfer. I remembered the day we signed it, right after Margaret passed. The house had been ours, paid off in full. David was struggling financially back then, and I told him, "Let's just put it in your name so you feel stable." He promised he'd never make me leave, that it was still my home, that I'd always have a room there. 2 years later, I was sleeping in a one-bedroom apartment over a laundromat. I pulled out my phone and scrolled until I found the number. Helen Evans, my old lawyer. She'd handled our wills, our taxes, our paperwork. She was retired now, but I had a feeling she'd still take my call. "Hello, Helen. It's me, Elaine." "Elaine, my goodness, it's been years. I know. I need help. Are you in trouble?" I took a breath. "No, but I've been treated like garbage, and I think it's time I stopped letting them get away with it." Her voice didn't skip a beat. "Tell me everything," I told her. From the invitation to the humiliation, the pie, the bathroom, the video, the audio, David's silence. She listened without interrupting. And when I was done, she said something I didn't expect. "Send me the files, all of them. Let me look at the property paperwork, too." "I'm not trying to sue them, Helen. I just want them to know I'm not stupid. Sometimes, showing them you're not stupid is exactly what they need." I emailed her everything. The video, the audio, the deed. 15 minutes later, she called back. "Elaine, do you know what David did?" "I gave him the house, that's all." "No, you didn't. You transferred it." "Yes, but you retained occupancy. It's right there in the clause, page 3, paragraph 2. I grabbed the envelope, flipped to the section. There it was. "Transfer of title shall not terminate current resident's right to inhabit the property for the duration of her lifetime unless voluntarily vacated or legally contested." I thought that was just legal fluff. I whispered, "It's not. It's protection, and it means they forced you out illegally." I leaned back, stunned. All this time I thought I gave it up, thought I had no right to speak, no ground to stand on. "Elaine," Helen said gently, "you want me to write them a letter?" I hesitated. Then I said, "Yes, not out of spite, not for revenge. For the first time in years, I just wanted to be heard." She nodded. "I'll draft it tonight. I'll make it sharp, and I'll send it certified. They'll know you're not bluffing." I thanked her, hung up. Then I sat in silence again, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This time, it felt different. Not lonely, not helpless, steady, focused. I hadn't raised my voice yet, but now I had something louder than words. Paperwork, truth, and someone willing to back me up. They thought I was old, soft, an easy target. They forgot something. I wasn't just David's mother. I was Margaret's wife. I was the woman who worked 2 jobs while raising him. The one who kept records, the one who kept receipts. I walked to the kitchen and made myself a cup of tea. I stood by the window, looking out over the snow-covered street. Somewhere out there, Karen was laughing, planning her next party, probably posting more family pictures online. But this time, the joke wasn't on me. This time, they'd have to open a letter they never expected, and they'd realize I've never truly left. I checked the mailbox every day that week, not for me, for them. Helen had sent the letter by certified mail with return receipt, which meant someone at David's house had to sign for it. On Thursday morning, it was there, a small green slip tucked between a magazine and a local coupon flyer signed by Karen. I folded the slip, placed it neatly on my kitchen counter, and sat down. My hands didn't shake, not this time. She had opened it by now. There was no way she'd wait. Karen didn't strike me as someone who let sealed envelopes sit for long, especially not ones from lawyers. I turned off the TV, paced the apartment once, twice. Then I poured a cup of tea and waited. It didn't take long. At exactly 3:12 p.m., my phone rang. David. I let it ring twice before I answered. Hello? What the hell is this? His voice was sharp. No. Hi, Mom. No, how are you? I stayed calm. I think the letter explained it clearly. You're threatening legal action. I'm enforcing a contract. There's a difference. You want to move back. Into the house? Is that what this is about? I want acknowledgement. I want what was agreed upon, what your wife helped steal from me. He went silent. Then Karen didn't steal anything. She humiliated me in front of 50 people. She laughed about it afterward. I have the video. You've been spying on us now. No, David. One of your friends had a conscience, something you apparently don't. I heard him breathing unevenly. I don't want to fight with you, he finally said. Then don't. I don't understand why you'd go this far. I paused, and then I told him. Because you let her throw away the pie I baked for your kids. Because you stood there while I was called a freeloader. Because you didn't defend me. Because you knew everything and chose silence. That's not fair. It's accurate. He sighed. It sounded like a tired, angry man trapped between guilt and ego. What do you want from me? I want a formal apology. I want it in writing. I want Karen to know she crossed a line, and I want the house acknowledgement reinstated on paper. If we don't, I didn't raise my voice then. Helen will file, and it'll become very public very quickly. Silence again. Longer this time. Fine, he said, but it wasn't surrender. It was fear. You'll get your damn paper. I ended the call without another word. I stood by the window for a while, staring at the trees across the street. They were bare, branches thin and sharp against the pale sky. There was no joy in that conversation, no satisfaction yet, just movement, but that was enough for now. The next day, I received a text from Karen. You win. You've made your point. But don't think this means you're welcome again. I didn't respond. She wanted to control the last word. Let her try. 2 hours later, a second message came from David. Letter will be mailed Monday. Please don't escalate this further. This time I replied, make sure it's notarized. No smiley face, no warmth, just facts. I didn't cry that night. I didn't feel proud either. I felt grounded. I felt steady. Karen could play her games. David could pretend this was just stress. But I knew what had happened. I had proof. And now they knew I wouldn't sit quietly anymore. For the first time in a long time, I went to bed without replaying every word I'd said. I'd said enough. Now it was their turn. I expected silence. Maybe an apology in the mail. Maybe nothing at all. What I didn't expect was a knock on my door. It was Saturday morning. I was folding laundry on the couch, flipping channels with the remote. When the knock came, sharp and fast, my heart jumped. I stood slowly, peered through the peephole. Karen, hair tied back, Big sunglasses, no coat. I didn't move. She knocked again. I know you're in there. I opened the door 2 inches. What do you want? She pushed her sunglasses up. This is gone. Too far. I didn't open the door any wider. You embarrassed me in front of our entire family, she said. Now you want to sue us? I stared at her. I sent a letter. That's all. I didn't embarrass you. Your own actions did. She folded her arms. We've been more than generous with you. I almost laughed. You kicked me out, called me a freeloader. You tossed my food in the trash. Her eyes narrowed. You were never supposed to hear that. That was it. That sentence. The one that told me everything I needed to know. Not, I'm sorry. Not, we went too far. Just, you weren't supposed to know. You planned it, I said. She didn't deny it. You made David choose. He's my husband and I'm his mother. She glanced down the hallway like someone might be watching. You got what you wanted, she said. You made your point. Now drop it. I leaned against the doorframe. I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing it because I let people like you win too many times. She looked at me like she wanted to slap me. But then her lips curled. You think this makes you strong? It makes you pathetic. No, I said calmly. What makes me pathetic is sitting in a bathroom while my family laughs about me over wine. Her face tightened. I came here to be civil. Then leave while you still can. We stared at each other. 2 women, 2 very different lives. Only now, the balance had shifted. She stepped back. You're going to regret this. I didn't blink. No, I already regretted staying silent. She turned, walked down the hall. I closed the door, locked it, and sat back on the couch. My hands weren't shaking. Not anymore. But I kept hearing her last words. You're going to regret this. What did she mean? What else could they do? I walked to the kitchen, checked the windows. Nothing unusual, but my gut told me something was coming, something I hadn't seen yet. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the hallway made me sit up. Every shadow outside my window made me check the blinds. Not because I was afraid, but because I was ready. And when the next knock came, it wasn't Karen. It wasn't David. It was 2 men in uniform. I opened the door and there they were, 2 officers, tall, serious, one with a clipboard, the other holding something under his arm. Ma'am, the one in front said, Are you Elaine Harmon? Yes, we need to speak with you about a complaint that was filed. He didn't sound aggressive, but not warm either. Professional, cautious. I stepped aside. They walked in. The younger one opened a folder and placed a document on my table. It was a notice of allegation of harassment filed by Karen. I stared at it, then looked up. She filed this? Yes, ma'am. She stated that you've been making threats and interfering with their property. That's not true. The officer nodded like he'd heard that before. We're just here to document. No one's being arrested. We're not pressing charges. But we need your side. I sat down slowly. I sent a legal letter through my attorney. That's not harassment. The older one nodded. May we see a copy? I stood up, walked to the drawer, and handed them a printed copy of Helen's letter. They read it, both of them, silently. When they finished, the younger one said, This is formal legal communication. She didn't mention this. Of course not, because it doesn't fit her story. I could feel my pulse steady but strong. She also came here, I added, banged on my door, told me I'd regret sending the letter. They glanced at each other. Did you record that interaction? No, but she didn't deny anything she said at the Christmas party. I have that video. You do? I pulled out my phone and played it. The sound of Karen's voice, David's silence, the laughter. The officers didn't say much. They just listened. When the clip ended, the older one looked at me carefully. You've been through a lot. I nodded. We're not here to escalate anything, he said. But I'd advise you document everything going forward. Any calls, messages, unexpected visits? I already have. He gave a small nod. We'll note your side in the report. As of now, there's no cause for action. Thank you. As they headed for the door, the younger officer turned. Ma'am, one last thing. Do you feel safe? I didn't hesitate. I do now. They left. I stood there alone, door shut, the report still on my table. Karen filed a complaint. She tried to flip the story, make herself the victim. It didn't surprise me, but what did surprise me was how calm I stayed. I didn't panic. I didn't cry. I didn't crumble. I sat back down and texted Helen, told her everything, sent photos, copies. 10 minutes later, she replied, "They're rattled. That's a good sign. Don't react emotionally. Let the facts speak." I reread her message 3 times. She was right. Karen wasn't filing police reports because she was scared. She was filing them because she was losing control, and people like her, they don't lose gracefully. That night, I changed the lock on my door, not out of fear, but out of clarity. They weren't done trying to shake me, but I wasn't afraid of being shaken anymore. I was wiping down the kitchen counter when I heard the knock. Not urgent, not hesitant, just inevitable. I dried my hands, walked to the door, and opened it. David stood there holding a small envelope. He looked older, tired, hollow-eyed. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. He walked in, glancing around like he'd never really seen my home before. "I found your letter," he said. I didn't say anything. It was in Karen's drawer. She never meant for me to see it. He looked down at the envelope. "I filed this yesterday. Divorce papers." I stared at them, not out of shock, just finality. "She told me you brought a knife," he said suddenly, "to the house, said you threatened her." My breath caught. "She told the police too," he added. "They didn't believe her. The security footage from the neighbor's doorbell cleared you." I sat down. "She's unraveling," he continued. "She's been suspended from work. Her boss got the subpoena." I raised my eyebrows. She tried to claim harassment, but the timestamps proved she lied. HR is opening a full review. Silence. "She thought she could spin it," he said. "Turn everything on you." But she underestimated how far she'd already pushed. I murmured. He nodded. I let her twist the truth for years. I let her twist me. I finally met his eyes. "What do you want from me, David?" He didn't speak for a long moment. "Not forgiveness," he said. "Just a chance to make things right. Not with her, with you." I leaned back. "Then do one thing, anything. Tell your daughter the truth." His face changed, not surprised, just scared. "I don't want her to grow up thinking I was some desperate, needy old woman who came uninvited. She deserves to know why I stopped coming around." He nodded. "I will." He stood, turned toward the door. "Oh," he said, "Karen wanted to talk to you. She asked me to call you." "Why?" "She said she wanted to apologize." I looked at him flat. "She wants damage control. She doesn't want closure." He didn't argue. "I didn't give her your number." "Good," I said quietly. As he left, my phone buzzed. It was Helen. Update. Karen's company just sent an internal memo. She's being terminated. I let the phone rest on the table. Then I walked to the living room, pulled the dusty photo frame from the drawer. The last family picture before everything went cold. I opened the back and slid in a new photo. Me, Helen, and our old neighbors from bingo night, laughing, holding cake. I placed it on the shelf, not to erase the past, just to make space for something better. I smiled. Not the kind you fake for company, the kind that sneaks up when the weight finally lifts. Outside, the wind moved through the trees, and for the first time in years, I felt still and strong.